Okay, so let's go over some forced perspective shots from our first assignment. I made a slide here with some key considerations for a successful shot. Focus, the two subjects that we're trying to represent as being in the same plane or distance from the camera, they should be in the same focus. If one's out and one's in focus, then the illusion's given away. Same with lighting, if they're lit differently, that's a giveaway. The eye line we talked about, the actors sometimes have to look somewhere other than where the other actor is to make it look like there's a difference in size between the two. Acting really helps. It's crucial, really, to sell the illusion. Baseline has to do with where the bottom of each subject is, and if the bottom of one is much higher in the frame than the other subject, then it's a giveaway that they're on a different plane or distance from the camera. So let's look at an example here. Let's look at this one again. I showed you of my daughter and I. So going down the list, focus is pretty decent. I might be slightly softer than her, but more or less we're okay. There's a lot of light in here helping the camera give us a long depth of field, so focus isn't too much of an issue. Lighting, we're lit about the same as far as contrast and brightness, but color temperature we're different. Daughter's being lit by a warm color temperature camera flash, and I'm being lit by this very cool color temperature daylight from the windows there pouring in. So that's the biggest giveaway. Our eyeline is pretty much good. It's maybe hard to see if she's looking really where I would be or not, but close enough. Acting, we're both obviously acting to create this illusion that there's this giant, 30-foot little girl terrorizing her father, which isn't too far from the truth. And then baseline. Baseline's not a factor too much. She's off screen, her baseline, and so am I a bit. So that's not too much of a factor in this shot. In this shot, baseline is the giveaway, along with the floor and the perspective that you see. The floor and the baseline difference show that these are this Godzilla is much further from the camera than the other characters. I think the illusion we're trying to get is that the Godzilla is same height as the rest of these characters, which is pretty much correct. Now, the screen height of the Godzilla is about the same as the other characters, when in reality it's probably 4 times taller. So that's cool. The lighting works. It's a nice, pretty brightly lit room, so the depth of field is very deep. So the focus is similar, the lighting's similar. Those things all work. Now we have this one. It's a bit of a dimly lit room, so we have a shallow depth of field, and you can see this finger's in focus, this one not so much, and he's a bit out of focus. So that's a slight issue there. The eyeline and acting work. He looks like he's really a hapless victim of this giant hand. Poor guy. So baseline's not an issue. The hand's coming from off screen. You can't see the bottom of him, so that's not an issue. Here we have this one. The lighting is the biggest giveaway. Matt's surrounded by these lights, and the hand is in silhouette, so it's clear the hand is much closer to the camera. Maybe you can nitpick and say that it's covering his foot there and his hand, and maybe it wouldn't be, or it could be. And so the focus also, Matt's in focus, and this is a bit out of focus, so that's something to look out for. This one here is very convincing. The acting's working great. It looks like a 15-foot, 18-foot giant leaning on a shed. So the acting's working great. Eyeline's not an issue. Baseline's pretty good. It's almost exactly the same baseline, so that works. It's not quite exact, but that's pretty nitpicky. The first thing I thought was maybe a giveaway when I'm trying to look for them is that this part of his sweatshirt you might imagine is behind that part of the roof. So you should see the roof there, and you could just cheat that by sampling this color and painting the rest of the roof over top, but that's pretty nitpicky. The interesting thing that is a giveaway, but it's hard to see, and I think it's kind of interesting, is how many snowflakes you see in front of him versus how many in front of an equally sized area of the shed. So now we know that the shed is further away from the camera, so there's more air between, and therefore more snow, because there's just more planes of snow coming down. So there's dozens and dozens in a similar area to his sweatshirt, where there's just a couple dozen there. So that's extremely nitpicky, but it's good to be able to see things like that. Yep, so that's it so far for the forced perspective shots. There's a few missing. Please submit if you can, and we'll go over those as well. And I think that was a good exercise in seeing what works and what doesn't. And yep. So look for the next video. It'll be on keyframe interpolation and extrapolation. Thanks a lot.